The Rise Today Inspirational Podcast is brought to you by two relentless health warriors, Dr. Erica Harris, an empowered mindset health expert who is the passionate founder of RiseToday.com, and Megan Hubner, an entrepreneurial marketing strategist and founder of Hubner Marketing. These two inspirational forces have truly thrived through adversity and are here to empower you to do the same. Together, they serve to open up the conversation about hardship and to move you to greatness through your adversities. Learn more at risetoday.com/podcast. Now, let's get started. Let's rise today, right here, right now.
It's a good day. Get up.
Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise Today Inspirational Podcast. It's Megan Hubner here. I am super excited to welcome you to episode number 5, actually. We are sharing today a different story, a different guest, and we cannot wait to share the stories that Sarah is going to share with us today. So I'm going to allow Erica to introduce her today, but today is such a great day to seek inspiration from our audience, from the people around us, and make today such a great day.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that great intro, Megan. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, Thrivers. We are so happy to have you here with us today. Hello to Sarah Ryan, who is our amazing guest today. We're so honored she's taken the time to be here with us today. Sarah is that amazing mama next door. She has 3 very active boys. She is a very happily married young woman, and she is professionally, she serves as a banker. And so she has also endured a lifelong battle of struggling to best manage her weight. And she is here to talk very openly all about that journey and how she has found the ability to take back the power, to take back the control that struggle has kind of casted over her life. Long journey with this. So welcome, Sarah. We are so happy to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
We're so happy to have you here. So tell us, where are you coming in from today? Where are you here with us from today?
I am in Northern Ontario, from Sault Ste. Marie. I was born and raised here, although we did live in Southern Ontario for about 8 years. And then I moved back home and I'm still here.
I'll do a little shout out to Sault Ste. Marie. I think most of our listeners know that's my hometown, and very proud of those that reside there. So welcome here today with us, Sarah. Now, I know well that you have struggled. You've shared very openly your journey about struggling with a lifelong struggle of weight management. So maybe take us back and tell us, what was the turning point for you that you kind of just woke up and realized, shoot, I'm really going to make a change and I'm going to stick to this. So tell us about that turning point. When was it? Tell us the setting. Tell us all about it, please.
Okay. So yeah, like you said, and like I've shared openly, I always have had a weight issue since I was a child. So it was something I grew up with. It's not something that happened to me all of a sudden as an adult or anything like that. So I can say it really didn't bother me my whole life. It wasn't like something that weighed on me. It just was who I was. So it probably is part of the reason why it took me so long into my life to find that turning point, because it really was a non-issue for me for a long time. So the actual moment I can kind of nail it down to is I had a fall. I fell downstairs and I broke both of my feet in the long run. I ended up in 2 casts. Oh, wow. And I was sort of unable to walk or move for about 5 months. And that feeling of—
Sarah, how old were you? How old were you at this point? What was happening in the rest of your life when you had this fall?
It was only maybe 3 years ago. 4 years ago. So I was like, I'm a full-time banker. I have a side business, a cosmetics business. I have 3 boys. I'm married. I have an extended family. I'm a very busy person. And so when that happened, I really got to experience what being disabled or being not able to do what I do with my life felt like. And it really translated for me to my weight. If I don't get this weight off, this is how I'm going to end up. I'm going to end up in a wheelchair or not being able to move and walk and be with my kids. And it was sort of a process for me, and I related the two. It was also very difficult to heal the bones in my feet with that much weight sitting on them, because every time I stood on them, I mean, they wanted to break again because, you know, I was double the weight I should have been. And so that was the start, and it still took me like 2 years to actually begin, but that's what started the mindset. And from there, I did a lot of soul searching, a lot of educating myself, a lot of learning how I was going to do this. And so then it's been this past year that I actually did it.
Amazing. And so really, it sounds like it has nothing to do with looks or body image so much, but really just this fear of not getting to be this active, independent, mobile woman that you've always been. Is that correct?
That's absolutely true. It's never, my weight had never held me back. I was raised to be a very independent woman. I mean, husband, no husband, whatever. I was raised to be that way. So I just got up and went and did what I wanted to do. And the moment I couldn't do that was like shocking for me. It was really hard for me to accept, and it got me thinking. So yeah, it had nothing to do with vanity. Like I said, I did, and I still do have a cosmetics business. And as a very overweight woman, it didn't stop the success in that business either. So it really never was about vanity for me.
Okay.
More about health and mobility and the enjoyment of your children. And how old are your boys now?
Now they're 13, 8, and 7.
Okay. And how long now have you been since? So it took you 2 years to kind of get your head wrapped around, get the correct mindset, which those things, as you probably can attest to, are the key to your long-term success.
100%. And then it took me a year to lose 100 pounds.
Wow. That's fantastic. That's
Congrats, Sarah. That's
huge
amazing.
gain in just a year. That's incredible. That's incredible.
So tell us what your starting point was, Sarah, for your weight.
My starting weight. So I should premise this by saying I've always carried weight well, I guess, if you want to say that. Genetically, my weight has always been higher in the numbers than I look. So I was 350 pounds. I'm 250 pounds now.
Amazing.
At my smallest, in 9th grade of high school, I was 225 pounds. That's the smallest I ever remember. So I'm not saying that 250 pounds on somebody else might be very, very large still. So it's not about numbers for me really, but that's what I'm at now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it really is about what you are getting out of life that you felt that you might miss out on.
Right.
So during that 2 years time of research and things like that, so I think this is a really key point, is because you've obviously been very successful, but this journey didn't happen overnight. It's happened now over 3 years. So what are some tangible things, like maybe the top 3 things that you found during your research that helped you get from an idea to a fact?
Well, it definitely is a journey, right? And you go down this road. And for me, it wasn't just about weight loss at that time. It was all the things, right? I was learning so many things. My eyes were being opened about even just foods in general, what I was putting in my children's body, from table salt to, ingredients and things. And so I was learning a lot about a lot of things, which ultimately led me to do this the way I'm doing it, which is ketogenically, eating ketogenically. So there was a lot of information. And so as you start to research, or at least I found, there's a lot of garbage information out there. And it took me a lot of time to wade through that. You start down this path of education, and at the end they're trying to sell you something. And you're like, oh, well, they just want to sell me something. And that wasn't, ideally the correct information. And so you start again and you start again. So at the end of the 2 years, I felt really in control of what I knew to be true and what I knew to be false. But up to that point, it's very hard to tell. And that's why I started a little Facebook group for anybody that kind of wanted to skip that 2-year process. And I just made a couple little videos to say, hey, here's what's real, here's what's not. Because I found it very difficult. I forgot your question. the
top 3 things. So you're right in the fact that, weeding through the extra layers and things. There is such an enormous amount of information out there these days. And a lot of that process is really finding what sticks for you, what resonates with you, what you can actually bring into your family and things. Because it's not just your life that you're changing the way that your family operates and how they consume foods and things like that as well. And so, yeah, there's a lot of fluff out there, and that can be really derailing for people. And when there's too much fluff, then it creates inaction.
Correct.
Tell me, Sarah. So they say that the experts, they say that it takes 3 weeks for all of us to create new habits. And those 3 weeks can be really hard to stay the course. So let's take it back to those early days when you just start making all these changes. I'm quite sure the dietary habits, the patterns that you had been doing were kind of revamped 100%. So how did you start eliminating those things from your diet? And how did you have the strength? What were your tools to stay strong during those, especially in that beginning phase, in those first 3 weeks?
Yeah, so that I remember that first month very vividly. And I should also note that I made this change. I didn't transfer my whole family to eat ketogenically. It was all I could do in the beginning to change myself and stick to it. I couldn't babysit my husband and my children to make sure they were doing the same thing, because through my research, I learned that doing what I was doing halfway was going to be more dangerous than not doing it at all health-wise. So I didn't change them at all. I only changed myself and focused on myself. And I still cooked for them the same way I always had. But that 3 weeks was like a drug detox. Like, I felt sick. I had headaches. I was nauseous. Like, I was definitely detoxing sugar from my body. And after, the first that 3 days of feeling that terrible, I thought, well, I'm not cheating now. I'll have to go through that all over again. So initially that was very motivating, kind of in reverse, to not want to go through that illness again. And then after the first week, I had lost just the bloat, just the water weight, which was 11 pounds in the first week. And so that was all I needed. I was running with it after that. So once the sickness subsided and the water weight dropped, for me, it was an easy thing to keep doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not going to say the journey was easy, but it was enough of a start to keep me going.
It gave you tangible results to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then was it like that for 21 days? Was it like that,
I would say that as far as the sickness, the illness, that first week was the worst. The first 3 weeks, the 21 days, you're relearning how to eat. You're missing foods. Like, I would make toast for my boys in the morning and miss toast because I like toast, so you smell it, you want to eat it. So learning that deprivation is okay, like you're saying, okay, no, you're choosing not to have this. So that 3 weeks was a big change from you can't to you're choosing not to. And I was teaching myself how to do that. And now a year in, I have no problem taking them for ice cream and not having any, or, making a different choice. And I reword them as well. When they say, oh, Mom, you can't eat that. I said, oh, I can, but I choose not to. And that's for my own mental capacity to be able to understand that.
I think it shows them the power too that you're showing, the power of you to say, yes, I could, but this is the choice that I'm making from my body. And
you're making it very clear though, and even how you're explaining it, it's really these everyday decisions that we make that really impact so much, maybe not today, but in the future of your mobility, of your activity, right? It really does come down to these everyday choices that we make. And I really love how you phrase that. I know very well that this was not about body image for you in any capacity, but looking at you today, you look absolutely radiant, like your skin is glowing. You look so happy. You seem very confident. You seem super empowered, not just to take on your weight loss journey, but literally to take on the world. And so tell me, what are some other perks that you've noticed on this? Because it's very evident, even over Zoom, these results are really making a difference in your choices to not just lose weight, but be a healthier person overall.
Yes, for sure. It's definitely not just about the weight, although that was the beginning factor. But it really does gave me power over my thoughts, right? I am in control, where I was out of control in my eating all of my life. That if I could control that, I can control anything with my mind, anything that I want to do. So that was a huge perk. Also in my day job, I work alone as a banker. I work for a virtual bank, so I work from home. So I'm quite isolated all the time. And this gave me a community of people looking, for the same thing, or that were doing the same thing. So that was a perk as well. And talking to others and educating others about this journey or the ketogenic process kept me motivated, because I can't very well tell you should be doing something and not do it myself. So it kept me on track as well. And that was something I hadn't really thought about in the beginning. And I would say the last one is I've really learned about my body in all aspects. Like, for example, I never understood that peanuts were inflammatory for me, right? My whole life I didn't know. Once I paid attention to my body, every time I eat a peanut, all my joints get inflamed and they're sore, which I always just attributed to being overweight, but I actually triggered it with the food. So I'm much more in touch with my whole body, not just my weight.
So everything you just discussed was absolutely brilliantly phrased. And you just really summarized the idea of this growth mindset. You took this weight loss struggle that you've always battled with, and on this, you talked about measures that were your perks from it, but they were also the measures that would really help you stay the course. This idea of a community of support and building our tribe is so important on this journey with other like-minded people. So key. Also, you talked about the notion of how you can help educate others and share your story and share the power of your story with others to help motivate them. So this idea of service and contribution is so important to help us stay the course. And then last but not least, you talked a lot about educating yourself, right? You fueled your mind and you researched everything that you researched, and you became passionate about fueling your body with certain foods and fueling your health. And I love how you just summarized that so brilliantly well. The tools that were your perks were actually also probably the tools that help you stay that course.
Definitely. And I found that relating my weight loss to things helped me and helped others. Like, I remember when I hit 60 pounds lost, that was the same weight that my 6-year-old was at the time. And I put him on my back and took a picture of it and said, like, I just lost him. And I took a picture
Wow.
and put it on social media, and people went nuts for it, And then when I hit my 100 pounds, I put 100 bags of sugar stacked in a pyramid and took the picture. I mean, people are like, wow, that's puts it into perspective, and it helped me to see it and it helped them. So
that visible
Absolutely.
cue. Yeah. Makes such
Now, I would imagine that there are highs and lows, emotional highs and lows, and ups and downs that we go through when we're making massive transitions in our lives. So did you, over the last year, hit a plateau, hit a wall, question your ability to stick to what you were doing, come up against obstacles, whether it was being on vacation or whether it was, out with the family and stuff, that you really had to dig deep to stay committed to your actual goal? Because I would assume that a lot of our listeners today are really going to resonate with your story and try to look for this seeking inspiration that you're bringing to the podcast today.
For sure. And I would say of any diet that you do, and when I say diet, I mean the way that you eat, because in my opinion, you don't go on a diet, get off a diet. The diet is the way you eat. I don't ever see myself eating a different way. This is the way that my body likes. So you're not going to be perfect, because this is the way you eat for the rest of your life, in my mind. So you're not going to be perfect. I can say that I haven't outright cheated, ate a cheesecake or ate a pizza. I haven't done that. That was sort of my line in the sand. But there have definitely been days and weeks where I've overeaten or eaten too many of the things I shouldn't eat that are still on my lifestyle, but I've eaten too many calories or things, for sure. So those cause plateaus. So maybe where I was used to losing 2 or 3 or 5 pounds a week, I would go 3 or 4 weeks and not lose anything, not gain, but not lose. So yeah, those are there. And we have done family vacations. And those are the weeks I probably don't lose any, but again, I haven't cheated that way, even on vacation. I make the best choice with what's available to me. But that was my line in the sand. There are people who do what I do that say, for their sanity, when they're on vacation, they're eating what their family eats and that's okay for them. But I would feel bad physically if I did that. You know, and the last thing you want to do on vacation is be in the bathroom.
Totally.
Right.
Oh, that's such a good point. Totally.
So it really comes down to how food just doesn't fill us, but that food actually fuels us. And you talk a lot about, you know, if I had cheated, I wouldn't feel as well. And I think that's just the huge insight here that really helps you stay the course too, right? On your mission and to keep charging ahead on this mission. Sounds to me like you took accountability from day one when you decided to rise on this journey. You took accountability, right? You weren't saying, you know what, I just have a slow metabolism. I just have this, I just have that, which a million excuses that we can all put forth, right? In terms of why we're not eating at our best or why we're not fueling our bodies to our best potential. There are a million excuses we can all say. We're too busy. We've got this, we've got that. It's too expensive. But you really seem to take accountability in your actions. And that's something that I always really recommend. How can we really change our circumstance, right? Ourselves. Put the pressure and the onus for our own health on us, not on our physicians, not on our doctors. I suggest this even in cancer, right? What are little things that we can do to change and to take accountability, to use this all as a wake-up call as to how we can live our healthier, more active, more fit lifestyle. And you just did that brilliantly. So Sarah, I just want to touch back on what you said earlier in the show when you were talking about how you are still feeding your children and your family in the same manner that you were before, and you're not forcing your decisions and your food choices onto your family. Can you tell me a bit about this choice?
Yeah, for sure. So I want my kids to be in control of their choices like I am now. I didn't always feel that control for myself. And something I should have said earlier, part of this journey taught me that I have been a food addict all my life. So for sure, food addict. I can overeat anything. I can overeat salad. I can overeat chips, like anything. So once I recognized that I was a food addict, that I could eat all the time, that gave me more desire to teach them how to control themselves. And me doing it for them is not going to give them that control. So, you know, they can make their own choices. I try to teach them what makes a good food, what doesn't make a good food. And that doesn't mean a ketogenic food, because that's the way I eat. So they eat fruit, you know, they eat carbs, they eat differently than me, but wise choices. So, you know, if they want a snack in the evening and I say, sure, make a healthy choice, they know what that means and they can go make their own choice. Whereas I think when I was a kid, that was different. It just, there was what there was, you know, you clean your plate, you eat what you're given kind of thing. And that's the way it was then. And so I'm trying to give them different choices. In our house, if you're full, walk away, right, from the table. Don't force feed anybody anything. But at the same time, I try to stock the house with healthy choices, but not to the extent where if they go to a birthday party, they're not like afraid to eat a piece of birthday cake or have chips or anything like that. They make their own choices, but they are educated. They know what choice they're making, in my opinion. And all three of my boys are big boys. They were all 10 pounds when they were born. Both their father and I are big. So they need to be careful and educated in their choices.
Well, I think that's great, and how you're leading by example, and you know, all this extra energy that you're getting, and this mobility, and you're so fit and active with your boys. I think they see that, right, in the perks that these dietary changes have made, and these food choices, as you say, and so they'll hopefully adopt that, you know, moving forward, just by that leading by example versus forcing. Yeah.
Do you feel that they are learning to understand their bodies and how their bodies work when they eat certain foods and things? Like something that you mentioned, you know, I'm 40 as well, and we ate differently and we were educated differently, and everything was different 40 years ago when we were young, and our parents did the absolute best with the knowledge that they had at that time. So do you feel that even at the young age that they're starting to recognize and understand how their body works and how it feels good versus not feeling good?
I do. And I see specific examples in them that I don't necessarily stop, like I let it happen. So for example, we had a birthday a little bit ago, and the cake, we had ordered the cake and it was very rich. Like it had 3 layers of buttercream icing this thick, and we don't eat that often. Like I don't keep dessert in the house really. And so my middle son had a big slab, and within an hour was in the house, bellyache, very upset stomach, and I said, oh, buddy, I'm sorry you don't feel well. What do you think is wrong? And he's like, I know it was the cake. It was a bad choice. I ate too much. And then he got upset, and he's like, and now I can't swim, in the pool with my brothers, and I'm sitting here. So I didn't present the lesson, but we talked about it so that he understood what it was.
That's such a beautiful example. I mean, that's absolutely perfect and tangible. And how old is he? He's 10?
8.
He's 8. So even at such a young age, a lot of times we don't think that our kids have that power, but they actually do. So such a good, impactful lesson for him with something like birthday cake that is so, such a childhood thing, right?
And also so important on that note, right? You don't want to exclude him from that if that isn't his choice, because that's just social isolation on a lot of fronts. There are certain times that eating the cake, it does outweigh the hardships of that bellyache, right? And there for those few times, there's no judgment. It's super okay, right? But in general, these food choices are what we're really talking about. These one-offs, no big deal, no pressure, right? It's just the long term.
Yeah, the learning is amazing.
Yes.
Well, and then you have something to reference. That's what I find. So even I'm saying about being a food addict. So my problem was portions. All my life, my problem was portions. So if they say, hey, can we have some ice cream, for dessert after dinner? And I'll say, yeah, you can have a small portion. And I never knew what that meant, but they do. So, we serve it in the same dish all the time, and they know that half that dish is a serving. I don't have to chase them. I don't have to tell them. They know, where I would have overfilled that dish because I was allowed a serving, so, and I want them to know it. I don't want them to sneak food. I used to sneak food all the time, which made me a closet eater, and I don't want them to hide food in their rooms or, eat every chance they get, because it'll hurt them in the long run. And I'm very open with them too. I say, you don't want to get to be a grown-up and have to lose the 100 pounds. It's hard. It's not fun. If you make wise choices all the way along, then it's just your life.
And making it about mobility and how your body can just move is so great.
That's actually what I was going to say, is what are some of the changes that they have noticed that mommy can do more freely now and that you guys get to share in?
Okay. So these are the emotional pieces of the journey. I can feel myself getting emotional right now. So even where we are locally, there's a big snow hill, thin hill. And for many winters, I would stay at the bottom and just wait for them to go up and down. And last winter I could walk it with them and sit on the slide and come down with them.
Yay.
So that was big. And then just 3 weeks ago, we went to this little place. We found this little waterfall, and you kind of had to hike down to it and then scale the rocks to get into the waterfall. And all 3 of them were like, oh, Mommy, you're going to wait there for us to take our picture. I'm like, nope, I'm coming with you. And they were so excited. And I could have never, my feet wouldn't have allowed me to do it. My body wouldn't have allowed me to do it. And I literally stripped down to bra and underwear and scaled those rocks. It was so empowering. It was such a good feeling.
Amazing. Just everyday choices can lead to so much more joy by being able to partake in these beautiful family moments, and your kids will remember that forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so will you. That's absolutely incredible. Those are the best tangible, examples that you could have given us. There's 2 main ways to make a drastic change in your life. And 1 is the emotional impact, and 2 is by the constant spaced repetition. And so that emotional impact of knowing what you wanted to achieve and what you wanted to see with your family is what has driven you to not even falter for the last 12 months, to really strive hard to reach your goal. And so, my message to the audience is that you take the information that Sarah shared with us today and really find out what your emotional connection is. If this is a journey similar, if Sarah's journey is similar to the one that you are desiring, take the emotional connection for yourself, find out what it is and what's going to motivate you to achieve the results and the changes in your life that Sarah has been able to experience. I absolutely love your statement about taking back your power. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that. If we talk to Sarah, if you could think of just our listeners for a moment, talk directly to them, how it felt to take back their power.
It's a feeling that you can't describe until you go through it, but everybody should. And you can take back your power in the simplest of things. I mean, taking sugar out of your coffee and just having cream, like you'll take your power back that day. You know, you're like, I'm making this decision, I'm doing that. And it grows and grows and grows. And it takes you, for me anyway, it took me right into relationships that were toxic. And I'm like, hey, I'm taking my power back in this relationship. This is no good for me. I'm walking away. And I don't mean my marriage. I have a wonderful marriage, but other relationships, friendships, things like that. And it gives you that power in every aspect of your life. And it's really digging deep for what you want, what is best for your life, for your children. And that's not selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody deserves the best you. My kids deserve the best me. And letting other people treat me badly is not healthy for them to see. And so weight is just a part of it. Weight was just my vessel to start this whole journey. But the empowerment piece is really where it's at. That's where you take everything that you've learned and kind of push it into one pointed arrow, you know, so you can take it. And I have faced some tragedy this past year, and that would have been the most ideal time to give up and to fall off and to go back to being a food addict and going to my comfort place. But you know what? I was strong enough to just maintain. And that was a source of normalcy for me to get me through that. And I'm so glad and so proud of myself that I did that. And that in itself was empowering.
Absolutely.
Your strength is palpable, Sarah, and the joy that has come from this, it's absolutely palpable, even over Zoom. I'm so happy you've been able to be here with us today. So tell us, how would our listeners be able to find you if they're looking out for someone to serve as a mentor, to get them kickstarted on their journey, to help them stay the course? How would they find you?
I'm mostly active on Facebook. That's where I do most of my work. So my Facebook name is Sarah Christine. You can find me there. It's a public profile. And my ketogenic group is called Curvy Girl Keto. So even though I've lost 100 pounds, I'm still a very curvy girl. And actually all my branded stuff is Curvy Girl. So my makeup, my keto, all of that. So that's the best way to find me.
And how would they find you for beauty supplies? What's the Facebook tag for that?
Same. It's just my public. It's just my personal profile. So I just kind of share what I like and what I do. And it's just something that's not food.
It's something that is food. Could you maybe share with us and with our listeners maybe what you've discovered is your favorite meal of the day and what you prepare for that meal?
So in the beginning, I ate a lot. Once I transitioned, because I was so used to eating a lot. Now I don't eat a lot quantitatively.
Mm-hmm.
So I really only eat one big meal a day, and that's at dinner time. And if I'm hungry earlier in the day, it's just kind of snacky lunch meat or cheese or olives, something like that. So my dinner meal is what I'm excited about. And so I kind of plan for that the night before. And when you eat this way, it's, you know, your protein and your veggies is really what you're eating with healthy fats. So I've learned I loved avocados. I never ate avocado before. Now I love them. And really anything, anything protein, I love. So
you do quite a bit of fasting then, and then you have your main meal in the evening.
But it's very unintentional. And I didn't start out that way. I mean, when I started, it was, you know, eggs and bacon in the morning and lunch and dinner. And
that's what I think of when I think keto. Yeah.
100%. That's where it started. But after the first month, your body just has naturally now got rid of the carbs, and we have plenty of fat on our bodies to satiate our hunger hormones. And once that natural process takes over, you're just naturally not as hungry. It's more habitual. You're like, oh, it's lunchtime, I guess I should eat. And once you learn and again, empower yourself to say, hey, I'm not hungry, I'm not eating. It's huge. Like even tonight. So it's 5:00 my time, which is our supper time. And I said to my husband, I've got an interview at 5, supper's in the oven, feed the kids. Like, I'm not hungry at all. I could totally skip that meal. Wow. It wouldn't bother me. But the trick is being okay with skipping it, because mentally we're like, I should sit down and eat because it's time to sit down and eat. And that is a mind game.
Yes.
I want to highlight all of these amazing tools that you're sharing, Sarah. So appreciative. I want to highlight to our listeners, by no stretch are we recommending that you follow these specific patterns. Sarah's here just talking about her entire journey and what she's passionate about. I always recommend to our listeners and to everybody to research and educate yourself and to fuel your mind, like we were talking about. Speak with your doctors about it and be inspired by Sarah's journey, but follow whatever is passionate to you and to your heart.
100%. I mean, I've got women that do Weight Watchers and women that do calorie counting. Like, I don't care which one you choose one you can stay with, you know, in the long term. Like I said in the beginning, I don't believe a diet should be something you start and finish. A diet is how species eat, right? Yeah. Like the diet of a raccoon is XYZ. Same thing. You got to pick something you can stick with, because I lost 100 pounds once before doing a fad thing, and the minute I stopped, I gained it all back.
Yeah. That's a super powerful point. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. That was such a great, engaging conversation. I absolutely love the tangible tips that you gave to our listeners. I love how you encouraged everyone to take back their power and really recognize that they hold the power within themselves to make the decisions that they want to, that are most critical for their life to get the best enjoyment they can. And I love the things that you touched on, like the accountability in the community and things that are really important to going through the process. So thank you for sharing about yourself and your family and how you've empowered your children as well.
Thank you, my friend, for inspiring us all to live our best lives. We cannot thank you enough for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day, Sarah.
You too.
Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate you tuning in to the Rise Today Inspirational Podcast. We hope you'll join us on our next episode. If you are feeling inspired and motivated to take action over your life, and you are finding inspiration that you are seeking from the podcast today, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, recommend it to others, and share the gift, which is the true reason that we're here today, is to motivate and inspire others to take their power back after adversity. Have a great day, you guys, and thanks for joining.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Take this inspiration forward. Learn more at risetoday.com/podcast. And please do help us in our mission to spread hope, inspiration, and positivity by encouraging those in your circle to join us and to tune in for our next show of inspiration coming soon. Please contact us if you have a powerful story to share with us to inspire the world. Until next time, get out there and rise today.